Hey everyone, last year I heard that our playoff format was too confusing for many of you. Therefore, we decided to make some improvements to simplify things. My name is Explainius, and I'm here to tell you all about the changes. Fortunately for you, I'm a master at explaining things, so sit back, relax, and let's see what's ahead of us. Also, Ender is here to make sure it's kept simple, largely because he's a ducking moron. Anyways, as you all know, we start our playoffs with the first seed and fourth seed fighting in a cooking competition, so there will be no changes there. At the same time, 2 and 6 will fight in a steering contest to determine who will actually be fighting in the top side of the bracket. Meanwhile, the third seed will be put under the variable ban condition, where they will have to eat as many hot dogs as possible. Now, a few have asked questions here, but we want to remind viewers that the ratio of hot dogs to bans acquired is kept private until the day of competition for competitive integrity. In the lower bracket, the residing u/PopeGonzo, #BlessPopeGonzo, Dweller in the Clouds, and Master of Rock will adjudicate a best of 3 thumb war between the two teams. The loser will, of course, be sacrificed to Cthulhu, High Priest of the Old Great Ones. In round 2, each team will be given a 1-hour-long exam containing questions on subject matters they learnt in school but believe would never be useful in later life, such as long division, photosynthesis, and sexual education. The scoring of these exams will be used to determine seeding, with the highest seed receiving the blessing of Pope Gonzo, #BlessPopeGonzo, and moving straight to the finals, with the lowest seed being sacrificed to Cthulhu, the Great Dreamer. With 4 teams in the semi-final, teams will be asked to take apart and rebuild the new Kia Niro. It should come as no surprise, but with the Kia Niro being a hybrid, we're hoping that it adds an extra layer of complexity over the more conventional diesel engines from prior years. The faster rebuild in each semi-final will move on to the final. One of the teams that did not receive the blessing of u/PopeGonzo, #BlessPopeGonzo, will of course be chosen by Cthulhu to be yet another sacrifice. All hail Cthulhu, the Starspawn, and may he bless us with pleasant dreams. Now, we heard you. Last year, there were many complaints about our final, increasing the amount of players from 5 to 6, having a wide array of game modes such as Assault, Control, and Escort, and inviting a washed-up DJ who shouts his own name for a live concert. There were too many changes and resulted in a significant decline in engagement, interest, and overall viewership. This of course meant that we could no longer afford to fund the paid actors that came to our live events. Therefore, we will be returning to the classic 5v5, best of 1, rock, paper, scissors, or as we like to call it, Shamrock Malphite, Papercraft Nunu, and IG Camille. Psychologists will be on standby in case Fnatic make it this far. Naturally, the loser will be sacrificed to Cthulhu, the sleeper of Relaya. Honestly, what a champ. So, that does it. Simple, right? Honestly, I'm surprised people still don't understand our playoff format. Oh, also,
the winner will be sacrificed to Cthulhu.
What the duck?
Welcome back everyone to week 8 of the LEC spring split. Well, we are back. I'm very happy to be back, and we will have some great action. I will be here on the analyst desk with Frosk and Yamato Cannon, and we have set the stage for the next chapter in the race for playoffs. First, though, we do have an important update. As you can see, we are not in our usual location due to the ongoing developments of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have decided to play and produce the remainder of the spring split 100% remotely online, with matches resuming today. For more info on all of this, visit lolesports.com or check out @LEC on Twitter. But first, I do want to welcome Yamato Cannon and Frosk Curran. It's not normal, but it is the new normal, and I'm certainly very happy to be back.
Just huge shout out to everyone behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. I think it was incredible what our team put together on such a short amount of time for turnaround.
It's fun to go old school. I remember the old days back in season 2, season 1. This is how it was done, so it brings back memories, and I want to agree with Indiana's sentiment that the team behind everything has been honestly insane with how fast everything was put up.
Yep, I want to echo that as well, and I'm very happy that I get part of it. But we get into, because it continues today, the spring split, and currently leading the pack, we do still have the undisputed best team in the LEC, G2 Esports. Nothing has changed there. They are still number 1, but how strong are they right now?
Honestly, on my end, it's absolutely crazy to think how, we've always asked the question, G2, how seriously are you taking things? How hard are you practicing and so forth? And the general sentiment is they're protecting themselves from burnout. And the fact that they're first place and they're not even in their final form is absolutely crazy, because I think this is the time to beat them. Coming into playoffs, they're going to become stronger and stronger, and I would be worried if I was the other teams.
Yeah, and so it does kind of mean good sentiment for some of the teams that have tougher schedules because they do face G2, because I agree with you. This is kind of now the time to strike when playoffs are all but a certainty for them. Kind of going back to the idea that G2 still kind of sit head and shoulders. I think a lot of Fnatic and Origin fans are like, whoa, wait 1 second, Yamato. Our games were actually close. We almost took down G2. To which I say, did you? Did you almost take down G2? Because I saw a lot of bizarre compositions, a lot of very strange picks, and I just have to question, if you give G2 a Fnatic composition or an Origin composition, I think they play it better than both Fnatic and Origin.
Ooh, well, those are strong words, but I think it's an important caveat to make. And also, as what Yamato said, we did see the stat there. G2, they're not completely locked in, but they are 99% sure to be going to playoffs at the top of the tables. They also took down Origin and Fnatic in 2 close games a couple of weeks ago, so they are in a very strong form. Now, I do want to also turn our attention not just to the top 3, top 4, but to that top 6, and more specifically, XL and MAD. They are fighting for that 6th position and that last spot in the playoffs. MAD have been quite, I would say, the surprise with the rookies of this split. But this XL team that has been working on this project for a year and a half, they really need to show up in the next couple of weeks.
So it breaks down into 3 points if you guys have kind of lost track of where Excel and MAD sit. Right now, MAD hold a point advantage in the standings, but Excel hold the head-to-head. That said, Excel face the 3 toughest teams in the LEC, all 3 top teams, which means they must upset. Excel have to find an upset if they want to take the spot from MAD.
Well, yeah, when we look at Excella, I also think, as said, they have a very, very difficult schedule coming up. They are playing G2 Esports, they are playing Fnatic, they are playing Origin and SK. Now, maybe that last one, that say, but of course, they are playing the top 3 teams in the next couple of weeks. There is no better time for them to shine. But Yamato, the question is if they even can.
I think what's so tricky about Excel is I look at this roster and it's filled with veteranship. A lot of players that have been around for a long time, now with the coaching staff as well, with a lot of experience, but they're making inexperienced mistakes. The mid-game to late game, they make very, very big mistakes in terms of the preparation. Strong early game in general, but I'm not on the Excel hype train at all. I'm not sold.
Okay, well, let's see. Maybe they can prove you wrong throughout this weekend, but we have made some to our format this year, and if the video at the top of the show wasn't clear, I can't blame you. But with the playoffs right around the corner, let's have an actual refresher.
Hello, LEC family, and welcome to 2020. With the new year comes a couple of changes, but don't worry, as always, we've got you covered. During the regular season, our 10 teams will face off against one another in a double round robin, best of 1 format, with the top 6 teams moving on to the playoffs. Championship points are awarded differently in each split. For more information on championship points, read our article on eu.lolesports.com. In playoffs, each match will be played in a best of 5. In Week 1, on the winner's bracket side, the best team from the regular season, Team 1, will get a choice of taking on either Team 3 or Team 4, with the remaining duking it out against Team 2. In the loser's bracket, Team 5 will take on Team 6. In Week 2, Match 4 will pit the lowest of the seeds to lose from Match 1 and 2, and will play against the winner of Match 3. The winner of Match 4 will play the highest seed that lost from the winner's bracket. And finally, in Match 5, the winner of Match 1 will play the winner of Match 2. In Week 3, during our roadshow, the winner of Match 6 will square off against the loser of Match 5, with the winner advancing to play for all the marbles against the winner of Match 5. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.
Well, we will need to take a look at that video a couple of times more, actually, in my case. But what is important is that last split we saw, and last year we saw that the top 2 was very important. But now that entire top 4 becomes incredibly important for your chances to survive until the later stages of the playoffs.
Yeah, the short and sweet of it is that if you're top 4, you get a second chance. It's a pseudo double elim bracket. And so, as you're saying, 5 and 6, they drop the single best of 5. They're automatically out. If you're 4, you can afford to lose a best of 5, but that does mean that your opponents get that much more tape on you in preparation.
I'm also really eyeing that third place position because coming into the loser bracket, you get to view your opposition for another best of 5. You get to prepare longer. And I think this is going to be so meaningful, taking yourself all the way to the final later down the line.
And of course, the other side of that is if you end up in that fifth or sixth place, it could be difficult for you and you could be out very, very quickly. Out of those teams that are behind G2, 6 teams are still in the running for the top 4. If you look at Misfits and Rogue, who do you think can take that 4th place?
I mean, right now, I think safe money is probably on Rogue. I think that they were the hype team kind of coming in, and they've slowly gotten better over time. Misfits is kind of the surprise, but it does mean, as you're alluding to, that we kind of have 2 really close races. You have who's going to take the 4th spot. Is it going to be Misfits or is it going to be Rogue? And then who's going to take the final playoff ticket between Mad and Excel?
I'm with you as well with Rogue taking the 4th place, maybe even 3rd, because every week now they've shown improvement and I'm super excited. They are adding more weapons to the repertoire as we go.
I think the only concern with Rogue taking 3rd, because it is interesting, because it technically is still possible, is just the strength of schedule in front of them. The fact that Origin have one of the easiest schedules and also have that point buffer in terms of the standings. Yeah, Misfits and Rogue technically could catch up to them, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, Rogue hasn't managed to beat any of the top 3 teams yet this split, so that doesn't bode well for them in that regard. But 2 teams that are en route to the playoffs are Mad Lions and Misfits. And tomorrow, the 2 young lineups go head-to-head in our match of the week.
This is the battle of the rookie of the split because there are a lot of rookies in the LEC this split, and I think everyone's showing up that rookies are here to stay, you know?
The game against Misfits is important because for us it means that we would be able to make playoffs more likely. Also, it means that someone from our team might get the rookie of the split.
I'm sacrificing a lot to be where I am right now.
When I joined LEC, nobody really knew me, and I think I proved I deserve to be here.
That's our match of the week tomorrow. And I think regardless of if we dive into kind of the analytical matchup between these 2, the fact that there are so many new players and so many rookies in this match of the week who have shown themselves, be it by themselves or in tandem with some of the most veteran players on their lineup, is great and just bodes for the talent we have here in Europe once again.
I mean, it's the same old horn that we keep tooting, and you are absolutely correct. It's you have to watch out for these rookies. It's the infrastructure behind Europe, like the ERLs, feeding over into the LEC. We have, 13 to 15 new names that entered the LEC, and now you have 2 squads almost entirely made up of very young talent. Yeah, a lot of the Misfits guys already have a split under their belt, but no one really expected them to reach this high and this far so soon.
Yeah, I agree completely. Usually you hear the stories of 1-year plans. Usually when I coach rookies, it was always the 1-year plan. And all of these teams, Mad Lions, Misfits, and Rogue, etc., they're all busting out on the scene so quickly and so fast. It's incredible in itself.
Yeah, and that matchup tomorrow will be super hype. And I think it's also important to note that if you think, well, are they ever going to hold a candle to the top 3 or toward G2? Well, Mad has taken down G2 and Fnatic. Misfits have beaten Origin and G2, so it will be pivotal. But what have we got on the slate for today? If you look at the schedule, I'm inclined to say aren't these just like easy games to predict? Isn't there a clear favorite in all of them? So I'm going to ask you, is there any game that you see going the other way? Which upset do you dare to predict? Let's put it that way.
I mean, it feels like we're always in this situation where you like look at the schedule, like, I could easily have this one is going to go. And then like we're always wrong. Like it always comes down to the wire. I'm going to kind of just echo Perks' sentiment that he said on PGL, where he talked about G2 versus Rogue is going to be the most explosive. I think Grabsy was actually the one that there's a potential upset there. And I think, again, just reiterating what we said before, G2 at the end of the split, when playoffs are already locked, probably the best chance to take them down. So I'm looking at G2 versus Rogue.
I'm the same way. I think all of the other matchups are very one-sided. Misfits versus Schalke, Misfits side, maybe Schalke can pull an upset there. SK versus Mad Lions, same thing. Fnatic against XL is going to look way more grim than in the past. Rogue versus G2. G2 might cocktail around and Rogue might improve. Last time, G2 got carried by Soraka. This time around, there are no supports in the top lane and it might be the difference maker.
But we know that they always pull out something really, really crazy. The first game of week 8, though, that is Mad Lions versus SK Gaming. For Mad, this is a chance to get one step closer to a playoffs ticket. As said, this lineup is very close to the playoffs. They are fighting with XL for that 6th spot at this point in time, but they do have some victories versus the top 3 teams under their belt. And it would be a crowning achievement if they are able to make it.
I think it's about kind of not taking away, re-identifying the word victory. Yes, they got victories, but I would classify them as upsets. And I think those upsets have inflated Mad in the standings. This is a team that is exceptionally good in the 5v5. That's kind of like their bread and butter about where they're finding a lot. To the likes of Humanoid and Carzy in particular, one of our rookies of the split. But Mad just don't have the consistency to be that heavy hitter, and I expect them to fall down in the standings as we continue to go.
I think the key thing for me with Mad Lions and why they're taking victories from the best of the best is the fact that they are playing on the limits always. Humanoid and Shadow, they tend to be very inconsistent in the way they play. I think Kaiser and Carzy tend to do a lot of great things in terms of impacting the map. I would say they are the most consistent part of the team. But just because of Humanoid and Shadow's inconsistencies, they have very, very high highs, very, very low lows too. And I think that is also the thing that makes them so dangerous in comparison to, for example, Misfits.
Yeah, they're just, Shadow is frankly just so unpredictable. His pathing is some of the most bizarre I've ever seen, and it is obviously catching these teams off guard because he's just never where you expect him to be. And I think it's just in an amount of time in terms of experience before he kind of finds his groove in some of these more traditional jungle paths or how to read specific jungle matchups. Whereas in his team fighting and just his mechanical excellence, like I have no problem believing that if you give Shadow Lee Sin, he can have some of the cleanest insects you've ever seen on the champion, but I don't always have the best faith in some of his pathing decisions.
I think the game that stands out the most is just the one he played against Xerxes when Karthus was invading him over and over. He was playing Rek'Sai. I agree with you. The Lee Sin looks wonderful. Everything else kind of looks cocktail. He's making these type of mistakes that I've seen in scrims many times where a jungler is like, okay, this is a pathing I'm just going to do once in my life. And I think just that inexperience shows through. Usually with jungle, it is all of that experience that is going to add up in the long run.
Yeah, well, we'll see how they play today. They're up versus SK Gaming, who on paper is, of course, a weaker opponent. So I would like to see them style a little bit as they gear up for those possible playoffs. And as a reminder, SK Gaming did make a change for today's game. Venter is in for Sakurai in the top lane. And Frosk, you think that that's actually bad timing?
Well, we were just having these conversations. I think Freak had it on his Freak show that Nico's starting to come back, that she could start popping up in some of these matchups. And their big Nico player was Sakurai. I'm not saying like Nico's going to be the champion, like the OP champion that teams must play. But I do feel bad for Sakurai. It felt like, what did you say, Yamato? The thing that this guy's probably heard the most this split is Ornn's a great pick here. And I don't necessarily think it was Sakurai himself who was reaching for that. But he's kind of in the position where the rest of SK are, that they're playing to play again.
Honestly, it's kind of odd because if I try to look at SK from outside, what is the issue there? And it's just so unexciting across the board. So I don't really know what's going on there. I'm hoping that the SK coaching staff see something on the inside that we don't see. Because in all honesty, making changes at this point in time, any changes kind of make sense because SK has been very unexciting the whole split.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be honest when that is the case with the lineups and question why maybe changes were not made earlier. But Yamato, as a coach yourself, what would you say to these players as they go into some of the last weeks of the split for them?
I would be truthful. I would be truthful because right now in their position, there's no playoff race. There's nothing there for them. They only have an opportunity to show what they're capable of. Because if I'm a coach for this team, I need to look at what I can build towards summer. And this is, in some cases, you need to cut some heads. You need to look at the future. And this is the time for them to shine, to either take it or just to let it die here already in the spring split.
Ooh, okay, well, let's see what SK can show us, but it's Mad Lions that hold the last playoff spot for now. With one mistake is all Excel need to catch up, so this game is a must-win for the Lions.
People are rating us pretty low. We have rookies that I think are quite capable of becoming really good. I have grown a lot, but I think most of my growth can come this year because I'm like the longest player now in this roster. So I kind of have to take more responsibility as a leader and stuff.
He's thrown it, he's hit Abadage, upsets down! GA's been popped from Sakre, he's gonna get up off the ground, but Crownshot remains untouched.
Artie jumps in a moment, jumping forward as well, they've got Cabo. That's the kill they wanted, Vitality scattered, shut down to Mad.
What drives me to be the best as a player? It's most likely I'm quite competitive, like everyone else in this league. I actually don't know, I just like to play this game, it's so much fun. Just proving to everyone else that you're good feels so good.
And what a game it's likely to be. Mad versus SK to kick us off here. VODS, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to casting the... We're kind of going back to our roots here, Medic, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Mad... We have a new player in the top lane for SK as well, and yeah, I'm really interested to see what Mad bring out along with SK because we've obviously had an extra week break, which means the teams have had more time to prep, more time to plan out what strategies they want to be bringing out to this week. And as the analyst desk was saying, Mad Lions, this is still a very important game for them because XL is hot on their heels and only one game back.
Yeah, and as they said on the analyst desk, XL still have to play Fnatic, Origin, and G2. But you look at Mad's lineup, and they've still got Misfits tomorrow, Fnatic and OG in the final week. So you really can't afford to be dropping games versus teams like SK. Otherwise, XL, who have a favorable head-to-head versus Mad, are looking for that 6th spot.
Yeah, they certainly are. So when we look at